On this episode, we're going to talk about Black Panther, especially given that I just saw it last night. And also, it seems like Washington still can't get off that spending narcotic. So we're going to talk about that budget deal and also that infrastructure, I guess, proposal that was mentioned this week. All that on this episode of TrendChat. Welcome one more time to another episode of TrendChat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, whether on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, it's all the same name, TrendChat 24/7. Also, as I've mentioned pretty much every episode, don't forget about the book Politics, A Clearing Call to Political Activism, which is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon, which contains over 300 articles, including an article from myself about being a delegate at the Republican National Convention in 2016. And it hits on a number of issues, whether it's education, healthcare, just general political issues. So pick that up if you like, especially if you are interested in political activism, hence the name of the book. And I also want to mention, we know now officially that we will be at CPAC in Washington, D.C., February 22nd through the 24th. So anyone's listening, I'll be there. And I'm pretty sure I'll be wearing a TrendChat shirt. So I won't be hard to find in that sense, especially given if you see the graphic of it, and you see me with the hat. So basically I look exactly how it looks on the graphic for the podcast. So I'll be wearing a hat and a TrendChat shirt. So if you see me and you listen to the show, come by and let me know. I'll be walking around media row here and there. So anyway, last night went to see Black Panther, and normally we will be on Thursday, but this is Friday, and I decided just to wait until today to do this episode because I didn't want to wait until next week, especially with CPAC going on. Who knows if I will even get a chance to post an episode. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen when I get to CPAC. Things get kind of hectic. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love going to CPAC to meet up with friends, basically, that I haven't seen since last year for the most part. So definitely looking forward to being there. But it is a little hectic sometimes. So as far as doing a podcast, I might be able to do it. I might actually do it on Media Row. Who knows? But I don't have all those credentials and all that. I just have credentials just to be a media member, which is also something to celebrate for us, because it is by getting that media credential for CPAC, that is our first official media credential. So yeah, the podcast has grown enough, at least to the point to where we were able to get a media credential for CPAC, which is awesome. And so I appreciate CPAC for, granting that access. So I really am, really proud of that in a way, because, just never thought. Last week was the first year of TrendChat starting, And I never thought, if you had told me in December of 2016 that I would have some sort of platform where I could get media credentials to events. I would say you're crazy, outside of what I was already doing with Politichicks. But if someone would have told me that you would get it on your own, I guess, with your own podcast, I'd be like, yeah, need to quit smoking crack, because that's I had no thoughts of doing that at that time. So anyway, like I said, went to see Black Panther, and I did say in the previous episode, just a little quick aside, that Black Panther is not going to be the greatest movie of all time. So that's what I said last week, and that's still true. I'm not going to say it's not the greatest movie of all time. It is a good movie, and I would recommend people, if you're interested in superhero movies, or if you're just interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Marvel movies in general, it's a good movie. And I had no doubt that it would not be, that it would be a great movie, as far as the sense of Marvel movies that they make. I mean, they have a wonderful track record as far as these movies that they've been making in the past, now over 10 years, starting off with Iron Man. So my expectations were that it's going to be just another good Marvel movie that I'm going to enjoy. But yeah, I'm not moving to Wakanda though. I know some people were talking about, well, this movie's so awesome and so great, making me want to move to Wakanda. And then you have some people, there's one thing in the movie that kind of like irritates me a little bit, is where they definitely try to make the point that, well, this is how Africa would be with the white people basically then screw it up. And that's not how they say it. They use like colonizers and stuff like that. But in layman's terms, basically, this is Africa before the white people screwed us up. So, and to make it seem like we as black people would just be so morally and technologically superior to everyone else, is just like, okay, that's a little arrogant in a way. 'Cause like, oh, we're just so much better. We'll be so much better if we didn't have, whatever, the slave trade and everything like that. Yeah, obviously it would be better, but I wouldn't go so far and make it seem like we'll be on this a whole other level than everyone else. So that is one thing that kind of bit irritated me in that sense. But it's not like something that was overt and that was just put in your face, but it was something that was also mentioned in the reviews and stuff like that anyway. And so, like I said, it's a good movie. I'm not moving. I'm not, itching to move to Wakanda. Not even itching to move to Africa in general. It's funny. I came across an article from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the great NBA legend, and he had an article. One part of the article, he mentioned that, well, by watching Black Panther, you will have a anti-S-hole country appreciation for Africa. Now, if you don't know what I'm referencing to, President Trump mentioned about some of these countries when they were talking about these talking about the people that were having the temporary status over here and talking about ending that. And the report was saying that he called these countries, I guess you can call fecal dumps, something like that, or S-holes or whatever. So if you know what I'm talking about. But so Kareem tried to throw that in there to take a jab at President Trump, and obviously he's going to do that. I mean, take any opportunity to take a shot at Trump. So it's funny because when I read that, I was like, Well, this is before I saw the movie, but even still, I was like, I hope you're not talking about Wakanda, because you do know that's not a real place. Because now, unless they're going to show a lot of Africa, the real Africa, a lot of that, then okay. But I was thinking that before I saw the movie. So when I saw the movie, there really isn't a lot of, I guess, a lot of scenes outside of this fictional African world. This fictional African country, Wakanda. You saw all of that, but there weren't a lot of scenes outside of that. They went to other locations like Korea and I think London, some other places, but they didn't show a lot of like outside of this bubble, literal bubble that they have in Wakanda. So it's not much. I mean, unless you're going to have this appreciation for a fictional world. Like I said, a lot of people are just like really going over the top where I feel like, oh man, I wish I can go to Wakanda or something like that or whatever. Another thing I was thinking about too, because there's a saying in the movie. I don't think this is a spoiler at all, but there's a saying in the movie, I think it was said before, but they said Wakanda forever. And that's great. You having pride in your country. But the thing about it, isn't it funny to hear that coming from, talking about an African country and people all embrace that saying, Wakanda forever. That's great. You're having pride in your country. But yet, if you say America first, that's racist, or that's xenophobic, or that's, just evil. But people in this comic book movie talking about a fictional country, oh, that's great. Let's talk about Wakanda forever. That's fully embraced. I just found that a little hypocritical to hear that, to accept that, but then want to reject people here in America that want to be America first. So that was something I kind of just like. That's interesting that to hear that. So now I know another thing that was mentioned in a lot of these reviews was the praise of not only Chadwick Boseman for playing Black Panther, T'Challa is the name, but it also was for Michael B. Jordan, who plays I guess you could say the villain in the movie. And there was plenty of rave reviews about his performance. And after watching the movie, I understand why now. I will say that Michael B. Jordan's character, his name is Eric Killmonger. He's a villain in the movie, an antagonist or whatever you want to call him. But after seeing the movie last night, okay, now I see why they loved it so much. Because honestly, I think a lot of the critics that were reviewing, and I bet especially a lot of the black ones, I'm pretty sure, and especially the ones who were sympathetic to like Black Lives Matter and whatnot, I'm pretty sure they probably saw Michael B. Jordan's character and saw him as the hero of this movie, not the villain. And I can definitely see, the Black Lives Matter crowd, put him as the hero. That's the true Black Panther, as they probably will say, because what he did in the movie, I can just see all of those groups, like I said, Black Lives Matter, they could probably be cheering him throughout the movie. And I wouldn't be surprised they would have some sort of criticism like, why is Michael B. Jordan's character considered the villain? He is actually speaking truth, and he's actually right, and I can see that coming if it not already being put out there now. But it's kind of one of those things where if people weren't so wrapped up in wanting to give just over just over hyping praise, I guess, for this movie. I think that would be one criticism that probably would have been made already, but no one wanted to say one bad word about this movie. Now, there were, according to Rotten Tomatoes, there were like 3 critics who dared to give it not even a really bad review. They didn't say it was a horrible movie, but they just had criticisms, and it was considered a bad review. And so, yeah. First there was just one, then there were like 2 others. And I think one is from Ireland, I think. Or at least it was the Irish Independent. That was the first one. And then the other 2, I think, from Australia. So, as far as anybody in the States that has given a bad review, I guess officially, according to Rotten Tomatoes, I haven't seen one yet. And I pray for that soul, if whoever that soul would be, that would make that critical bad review of Black Panther, if they're going to make it. And yeah, he might need some protection, unfortunately. But he or she, could be she. But I'm thinking, like I said, it's a good movie, but also it's an origin story, because we are introducing a character, to the masses, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, like all origin stories, they're a little bit tricky, because you want to tell the story about this character and want to tell people, what they're about and why they have these powers or whatever, or where they came from. And so to do all that can be tricky in a way, because if you're making a superhero movie, a lot of people expect action, and it's kind of hard to tell that story and to give depth and some details about this character, and also, balance with the action. I think they did a good job. I think they did a really good job as far as doing that balance in this movie. I was wondering if it's going to be like a lot of action in the beginning, and then a lot of, origin stuff where you're just talking and showing this and showing that, and then there'll be a lot of action at the end. But it wasn't. It flowed through pretty well. And I'm thinking about bad origin story movies, in which the one that comes to mind is Superman Returns, which I don't even understand why they had to be a bad one, because everyone knows about Superman, but for some reason when they did Superman Returns, they felt the need to have to talk about every detail about, not every detail, but just go on and on about the origins of Superman, which at that time, you pretty much know for the most part. And if you don't, you probably then not going to go watch the movie anyway. So, but yeah, it was good as far as striking that balance, and also the supporting characters. The 2 that stood out to me was Black Panther's sister and Black Panther's general. Yeah, the sister and the general in Black Panther, they did a great job. Now you're probably hearing me saying this, I don't know, but I know in my mind, I'm just going to tell you the reason why I'm saying it like that, the sister, Black Panther's sister, just so if you watch it to know who I'm talking about, and the general. So she's like the best fighter on Wakanda, and, pretty much like the right hand woman of Black Panther. Unfortunately, I would like to actually give them credit to say their names, but I had to saw their names, and I'm like, I don't want to butcher it, and I don't want to butcher their names. So just know who the characters I'm talking about, and maybe look it up. And I try to look it up on Google to try to say it phonetically, like how to phonetically say their names, but I just wasn't finding it so I could say it correctly. So yeah, so that's why I'm saying it like that. And I guess one last thing is this definitely was a more of a standalone movie. If you know what I mean by that, it's basically this movie is about Black Panther. So, like I mentioned before, this is a Marvel movie, and this is within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which, if you don't know, it's like all these movies that started way back when Iron Man came out are all kind of connected, leading up to Avengers Infinity War, which comes out later on this year. So all these movies have been connected in some way, shape, or form to lead up to this movie coming out in May. And Black Panther is pretty much on its own. It's pretty much not really, it don't make too many references, if any, really, towards the upcoming movie, which is a little bit disappointing for me. I was wondering, I thought it'd be a little bit more as far as showing a little bit as far as what's going to, what to look for in the upcoming movie. But, you know, you don't have a lot of those, especially when it comes to these Marvel movies, as far as like these standalone, just talk, you know, this movie is just about this character and we're not really going to reference anything outside of this world. So that's one thing. I don't know if that's considered a spoiler, but it's, yeah, don't look, I guess, you know, don't expect to see anything in reference to the Avengers, which, you know, now it's not a spoiler because if you saw the trailer, you know he's going to be, he's in Avengers Infinity War. That being said, it's still in the movie. You know, it's pretty. It's it goes in a direction where I didn't expect that it would go, but it was good though. So I'm gonna quit talking about that about it because I feel like I might slip up and say something that actually would be a spoiler. So all in all, it was a good movie. I would probably give it out of 5. I said 4 out of 5. Maybe 3.5. I don't know. Maybe 3.75. I don't know. But yeah, it was good. So before we, I guess, get into the other news. Wow, that was long. I didn't know I went that long. Man, Mr. Producer, I went that long. It was 20 minutes talking about this. All right. Yeah, so before we get into the other news, let's hear from our friends with the Founding Project.
Hello, TrendChat listeners. If you like the Founding Project's Civics Education video series, Civics for All Ages, and our educational meme series, we think you will love our new website. Join us at thefoundingproject.com and be a part of the civics movement. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
So, on Valentine's Day, of all days, we had another school shooting in Parkland, Florida. Now, this is, like I said, this is another horrible tragedy. We've had many lives lost. At this point, I think it's 16 or 17. And the shooter was captured. And so, unfortunately, when something like this happens, we go straight into, well, how can this be prevented? And what could have been done? And I know one thing I mentioned on Facebook is, sometimes across the political spectrum, I think people want to not talk about the implications of something like this. They want to have like a mourning period to where nobody talks about that at all. if we just wanted to have our thoughts and prayers, which is perfectly fine. If that's what you want to do, that's, it's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that at all. My issue is with the people who want to criticize, the people who are also talking about what are, what's going to come from this and what can we do to either, defend our rights to self-defense, or as the other gun controllers out there who want to use this and make some sort of plea for gun control, basically, just to take away guns, to infringe on the rights of millions of citizens, law-abiding citizens, I might add. And you can do both, and that's what I mentioned on Facebook. You can be thoughtful and mourn with the lives that are affected with this tragedy, and also defend our right to self-defense. You can do both of those. They're not mutually exclusive. So if you want to do that, great. If you don't want to, then that's great too. What I'm saying is that it's not, you don't have to condemn the people who are out there, making that defense of self-defense. So, and another thing I mentioned is I also mentioned this before, actually, during another time when we were discussing a shooting, is that the only reason all of this, I guess, it feels like things are being politicized so quickly, is mainly because those discussions and that you will have around the dinner table, at the water cooler at work, or talking to your neighbor. All of those discussions are now being posted online on social media platforms. Take your pick, and so everyone can see what your opinion is, right then and there, as opposed to in the past, you didn't know about what everyone else was saying because you didn't have a Facebook or a Twitter to go to and see what everyone is saying. Now you see it. And so it feels like everything being politicized, but we were already doing this. We were already having our opinions, our snap opinions on these issues. We were just saying it to a few people, but now we're publishing it to the world. So that's one reason why it seems that way. But I will say we always have had these thoughts. It just, now, like I said, we're just seeing it more and seeing it from more people across the country. So, and so with that, our thoughts and prayers are with everyone that has been affected in this shooting. And gun control is not the answer. It is not the answer. If anything, we need to be more prepared, and actually we should have more training to defend ourselves, as opposed to, as a lot of these people who are for gun control that want to basically make government the answer, that the government should be our only protection and we should not seek our own at all. We should only be just beholden to the government to protect us. And that's all that do is just makes us more vulnerable and for more attacks, regardless of what you want to use it with. It can be a gun, it could be a knife, it could be anything someone could make up. So it's best for all of us to be more prepared as opposed to being less prepared and just basically be sitting ducks. So yeah, that's all I have on that. And I'm actually going to go right into the next one because we actually are running low on time. I didn't know that whole talking about Black Panther was going to go that long. But I really thought when I was talking about Black Panther, I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about maybe 5-10 minutes. I ain't got much else to say. But yeah, that went longer than I thought. So the other thing was the budget deal. Ooh, that budget deal. Okay. So last week there was a budget deal that basically blew through spending caps. I mean, they're spending like there's no tomorrow now. And this is coming from Republicans. So, for the past 8 years, we've been talking about spending as far as when Obama was in office. And, when Republicans get in power, we're going to cut this spending and we're going to do this and that. Well, no, still spending. And on that particular issue, as far as spending, it's not really surprising. Because, for one, you shouldn't be surprised, not only from Congress, but you also shouldn't be surprised that it came from President Trump as well. But speaking on Congress, for one, a lot of those big spending, moderate, liberal, liberal Republicans out there that want to spend, they're still there. They didn't go away. They're still there. So to think that just because they're in power, they're all of a sudden like, well, we're going to just stop this spending all of a sudden. No, they're still there. So expect even more, I guess, more things connected to spending, whether it's earmarks or the Export-Import Bank, I'm calling it something else, but Export-Import Bank, like all of those other things that basically foster cronyism. I don't like calling it crony capitalism, but it's just cronyism in general. All of those things, be on the lookout for them, because like those big spending Republicans are still there. A lot of them are still there. Matter of fact, they are the majority. So, especially if you're talking about the Senate. The Senate is only 51. And I would say probably 30 of them are for, spending of some sort. Probably 40, actually. So that is a big majority of those that want to spend on something. The thing about it, Democrats want to spend on everything. Republicans want to spend on some things. They both want to spend. They just where they want to spend it. And you only have a few people that actually are concerned about the spending in Washington. Most of the Republicans, when they talk about concern about spending, it's because they just where it's being spent. It's not because they're spending; they just want it spent somewhere else. So that's why I said it shouldn't be that surprising that this comes from Republicans in the Congress. Now, also, when you're talking about President Trump, this also shouldn't be as surprising because it's not like he didn't mention this in the campaign. This is one of the things where conservatives actually, were worried about. So this shouldn't have been a surprise. It should have been prepared that, okay, this is going to come. He mentioned about spending, especially on infrastructure. And that's one thing he mentioned this week about this proposal for infrastructure. He mentioned that during the campaign. It's not like he just came out of nowhere and said, oh, I want to start spending on X, Y, and Z. He has mentioned this. He has talked about it in the campaign, back then, even I think a little bit some last year. So we should have known this is coming eventually. Now, and the things we were talking about as far as the infrastructure, these are the things that if you want, this is something as a fiscal conservative that you're just going to have to disagree on. You're not going to agree on everything with President Trump. That's something that should have been apparent already. You knew that you're not going to agree on this infrastructure deal or proposal that he was talking about, especially if you're fiscally conservative. And even with like the budget deal as far as with Congress, So, the thing about it is, it's not easy to disagree and to, voice opposition towards the, whoever the sitting president is, because it's the same way with Democrats and Obama. There could have been some Democrats who actually didn't agree with some things. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're like one or two of them maybe. But in the end, as far as what is the end game, if you're going to have this knockdown, drag out fight against the president, against the leader of the party. So I think, I think you ought to, make your voice known, and just try to what I said is, I guess, slow the bleeding as much as possible as you can, because it's gonna happen. Let's go and put it out there. It's gonna happen. The budget deal already happened, and these infrastructure, proposals, I'm pretty sure that a lot of them are going to happen, even though they shouldn't. A lot of this stuff should be left up to the states to worry about their bridges and their roads, because pretty much when it comes to the federal system, it's, most of those roads are pretty good. I mean, I'm a truck driver, so I'm out there on these roads all the time. So, yeah, most of these roads, especially on the interstate, are fine. Pretty good. There's a few that I think maybe need a little work, but it's not like where we're talking billions and trillions that is needed to fix at least the interstate system, and I guess what is connected to federal dollars. But anything that has to do with the state roads or whatever like that should be taken up by the whatever state that it's in, and that's where a lot of this ought to be handled. But that's not where the president wants to go with it. So this is like I said, this is not something that was not already mentioned, that we should have already seen this coming, and I disagree with it, and I don't think it should be done. But I'm pretty sure, I know I'm in the minority of that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people in whether the House or the Senate are in the minority, because the majority of these Republicans want to spend on something. What it's going to be? It's going to be something. Now, one thing will be defense spending, but that's not the only thing. And defense spending is the only thing where I'm a little bit lenient on defense spending, only because that is connected with national security. But that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be any accountability. But that is something that is constitutional. That's something that we supposed to be spending on. But like I said, still need to hold everybody accountable as far as how much and where it's being spent. But all this other stuff, I'm pretty sure most of this should be left up to the states. But that's not what we're doing. So now, that being said, we are in the midst of primary season. So if you are listening to me or whoever you're listening to and are, you're not satisfied, you're actually, you're outraged about what the Senate has done with this budget deal and everything like that. If you want to make your voice heard, this is the time, because this is primary season. Now, at this point, whoever is running is already out there, and if they don't have an opponent, it's a little late. It is too late to actually try to challenge somebody. But if there is someone out there that is challenging a representative or a senator who is out there and doing what Washington does as far as spending on this and spending on that, and you don't agree and want to make your voice heard, this is the time, because it's a primary season. So if you really feel that way about it, if you really feel that mad about it, then make a statement by voting for someone else in the primary. That is your option right now for the people who are upset. And if, say for instance, if your representative is not up for election, if you really are upset about it, well, there's another one in 2 years. So if someone wants to run, then you might want to start thinking about it now, or want to have someone to run against that, whatever that representative is, or whoever. So anyway, like I said, if you really feel that way about it, the opportunity is either coming up in a couple of weeks in the primary, or a couple of months, or will be coming up again in another 2 years with your representative again. So that's always the option the people have. Now, if the people want to use it, that's up. That's a whole nother issue. If the people actually want to use that option of making their voice known to the point of where okay, I'm tired of your constant spending, constant voting for all these spending, bills. It's time to get someone else in there that won't do that, or something like that. So that's all I really have on that. And so before I get into a couple other things, here is another word from our friends with the Founding Project.
Hello, TrendChat fans. The Founding Project invites you to experience our latest resource to take civics to citizens, TFP's new website. Visit us at www.thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with the Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Join us today.
So, like I mentioned in the beginning, I will be at CPAC in Washington, D.C. Well, it's not really Washington, D.C. It's Oxon Hill. Well, no, it's National Harbor, Maryland, but it's basically D.C. And yeah, so I'll be there. And like I said, if people want to, if you listen to the show, definitely let me know. It's always encouraging to come across people say, yeah, I listen to your podcast. I mean, I ain't saying like it happens all the time, but it does happen though. That's the cool part about it. Actually happens. Someone actually says they listen to the podcast. I actually I'm like, oh really? You listen? Wow. So yeah. Can't wait to be there, meet up with some friends and everything, and just have a good time. It's definitely an escape from the liberals. I know, well, there was one thing, not going to get into it, but, black people wanted to have a retreat from white people, whatever. If you feel that way about it, just, I guess, stay retreated somewhere if white people cause you so much stress in your life. Anyway, this is like a retreat for conservatives from liberals every day, because they're everywhere. We live with we as conservatives, we live with, liberals all day. So it's like, if this is our time to actually, get away from them. So anyway, I appreciate everyone listening. And I don't actually know if we're going to have a episode next week. I'm pretty sure we are. We might actually have the episode with the executive producer of TrendChat. I keep teasing that, but it might happen next week. So anyway, that being said, until next time, we'll chat with you later.